southern end of Kolkata Maidan and close to the gorgeous Victoria Memorial. Enclosed within a high vault enclosure is the resting place of many people, civilians and martyrs alike. Located at 15 Debendra Lal Khan Road, Kolkata 7,27,000, stands the Epitaph of Life, the Bhowanipore Cemetery. A surreal neighborhood, a quiet environment, abundance of natural growth, Bhowanipore Cemetery stands solemn. Now, as normal visitors' access to this famed cemetery is restricted, we were lucky enough to explore this cemetery and take a deep dip into the rich history and heritage, the stories of life and death as portrayed on the tombstones. As we enter the cemetery, one could observe that the flowers are sprinkled, headstones or headboards are freshly painted, candles are lit, and silent prayers are made so that the dead and the buried can rest in eternal peace till the judgment day. The Bhowanipore Cemetery is divided into two broad segments, the Civil Cemetery and the War Memorial. This Civil Cemetery has been in use since 1864. Many of the earlier burials of service personnel and their descendants being made from the nearby garrison at Fort William, from which the cemetery initially took its name. The main reason Bhowanipore Cemetery is so famed is because it's the resting place of martyrs and war memorial. Bhowanipore Cemetery is the final resting place of many fallen soldiers from the wars which tore apart families, cut lives short. One can find that this cemetery is also the host to the resting place to the father of Indian boxing, Mr. P.L. Roy. To quote the words of Mr. Bruce Bucknell, British diplomat who was formerly Deputy High Commissioner in Kolkata, I am privileged to be here in Kolkata and had the opportunity to pay tribute to those who lost their lives in war. We recognize India's remarkable contribution to the war efforts. Walking along the Bhowanipore Cemetery trail, we arrived at the War Cemetery area, which lies within a confined enclosure and is preserved by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, the CWGC, which preserves the war cemeteries in about 146 countries all over the world. The Bhowanipore Cemetery has about 95 First World War and about 617 Second World War entombments. During the Second World War, various institutions significant to the war effort were dispatched to Kolkata, and number 47 General Hospital was there from January 1943 to the beginning of February 1945. Initially, the graves were in denominational plots spread across the cemetery, war graves and civilian graves indiscriminately socialized. In 1954, the church authorities decided that it would be essential to clear certain plots, and the out-of-the-way war graves were reallocated by the Commission into the area with the largest number of war burials. This now forms a distinct service section, comprising the graves of both the world wars. The war graveyards of Bhowanipore Cemetery is spread out over approximately 1.5 acres of land, with grave plots of 200 meters. It is an old European military cemetery that has some burials dating back to the late 19th century. The tombstones of the World War I are 1 inch thick, and those of the World War II are 3 inches thick. The preservation of the graveyards is taken care of by the Ministry of Defence, Government of India, in partnership with the WWII. While we were moving along, we could feel the history coming alive. It is understood that the martyrs in war were cremated in the battlefield, and the ashes were brought in urns and laid to rest here. Many of the martyrs were too young to die, laid to rest thousands of miles away in India. Most of the deceased were young men recruited into the military to fight either the Austro-Hungarian Empire and Germany combined Axis forces in World War I, or to fight the Germany-Italy-Japan Axis in World War II. The graves have been marked with headstones portraying the brigade, place of posting, or the ranks. The ground is well trimmed and preserved clean. One can spend hours in the Bhowanipore Cemetery observing the different tombstones where the battalion of the fallen soldier is mentioned. Astonishingly, you will also find Hindu and Muslim soldiers also buried, and their tombstones clearly portray this. Initially, most of these soldiers were buried at Fort William other than the war graves. You will also find civilians also buried here. The oldest registers show the date of 1807. The cycle of life, the inevitable happening in the form of death, and the mystery of an existence after death. Deep thoughts come to your mind as you travel through the Bhowanipore Cemetery. And in every step you experience history engraved in the epitaphs and tombs since 1807.